A very warm welcome to RTV News and many thanks for joining us here this evening. We hope you had yourselves a very productive day. Now, top of our edition tonight, these are headlines. Rwanda's Nyungwe National Park is now on UNESCO's World Heritage List following requests that 8 and 4 of the country's genocide memorials be added to the list. Citizens from all over the country are being given free land for cultivation. They thanked the government for this action and promised that they would use their efforts to make great use of it so that it provides a solution in terms of food security in the long run. Glad to have your company tonight once again, coming to you straight from the heart of Africa, Kigali. My name is Martina Avera. Now, Rwanda's Nyungwe National Park is now on UNESCO's World Heritage List following requests that 8 and 4 of the country's genocide memorials be added to the list. The country's Minister of National Unity and Civic Engagement is in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, representing Rwanda at the 45th UNESCO Summit, and we spoke to him earlier about this development.
Ishyamba rya Nyungwe niryo rya mbere ryinjijwe mu murage w'isi wa UNESCO ivuye mu Rwanda.
The Nyungwe forest becomes the first from Rwanda to be inscribed on the list, which is historic for the country and a source of pride because being included on UNESCO's World Heritage List means more popularity for the forest internationally, more tourism, research, better protection for it, and increased productivity. That is the reason this is no small matter and took a lengthy process that required a lot of expertise. To be included on the list requires that the site in question have very important international significance, and that meant producing a lot of evidence in the case of Nyungwe. A dossier had to be prepared, and then experts came here to Rwanda to visit the site and verify that it meets the requirements to be included on the list. In Nyungwe's case, the forest was found to meet the requirements, but certain concerns had to first be addressed by the government of Rwanda, including the fact that a major road passes through the forest, posing a risk to the wildlife. And we did address those concerns by installing the necessary infrastructure to increase safety, such as speed traps for vehicles and lighting for the entire length of the road that passes through the forest. We also showed that alternative roads are being built, including the Muhanga-Karongi-Rusizi road that is in fact complete, to reduce the traffic that flows through the forest. They also expressed concerns over some trees on the edge of the forest that were being cut down, the tea plantations near the forest, and we showed them that the tea plantations are necessary for local development and do not pose a threat to the forest itself. All of that was discussed during the summit, and the government of Rwanda presented its 10-year strategic plan on the protection of Nyungwe, which resulted in all of the member states supporting us, and we are happy about that. Concerning the genocide memorials and tomorrow's proceedings, we are confident because we have a dossier that we have been preparing for more than 10 years. And the international inspection teams conducted their visits to the sites as well. So we are ready for tomorrow's presentation, and we intend to come home with a victory for the country in that respect as well.
Now, experts attending the ongoing UN General Assembly in New York have noted that countries need to cooperate to increase food production by 2030 in order to save more than 700 million people around the world from starvation. We have more on this report.
With just 7 years to go to the deadline the world gave itself of eradicating hunger, the experts say countries will not be able to deal with the effects of climate change and their devastating impact on food production if the globe does not come together with one voice on the matter, and Africa has continued to be the biggest casualty of the lack of cooperation.
What happens in the food system in Africa, the way I see it, because a lot of financing happens through MDBs, through resources that come from multilateral institutions and stuff. But when you go to translate that financing sometimes, and this is something we need to think through and understand, where does economic empowerment come from and how do we reduce poverty? You get, $50 million to over 5 or 10 years across a population of 40 million people, and you translate it into per capita investment, and you realize that it's 0.0001. Now, what it does is, it doesn't create any impact on the ground. Sorry, but I do appreciate what these institutions do, but does not translate into impact on the ground, especially given the challenges now. Number two, debt continues piling up. Never mind that very little impact was created, but debt piles up. Now you have a number of countries that have all this debt, and you're asking yourself, where does development go? How come it doesn't add up? But that's the reason it doesn't add up. Too little, too late, too far apart.
The experts also note that 38% of the efforts of farmers globally go to waste because what they produce simply is not used as it should be. Yet more than 600 million people around the world are hungry.
And very frankly, if we solve the food problem, which is something that all of us, we can do daily, we have done a giant step towards sustainable development. We can reduce emissions by 1/3. We can reduce the use of resources. We can provide more jobs to people. We can take people out of hunger and out of poverty. For this to happen, I think we will need to enter into a serious discussion of a redistribution of power. The power of decision-making when it comes to the food systems. But I think we have a collective responsibility as a UN system to provide them the means that they take this power back.
The participants at the UN General Assembly are also calling for environmentally safe agricultural practices, with the global agricultural sector accounting for 30% of the world's emissions. And yet, if nothing is done to increase agricultural output by 2030, more than 700 million people around the world will go hungry.
As the beginning of the 2023-2024 national school year is underway, parents and teachers demonstrate their readiness. Meanwhile, the number of students who sat for national exams willing to change their allocated schools continue to increase. Prince Manzi with more.
First term of the 2023-2024 school year is expected to start on September 25. Some of the parents say that they are ready to send off their children to school. We know that they are to go as soon as the calendar is out, but it is always challenging, financially mostly. We are here for buying school materials. Some of them are expensive, and it adds to how the prices are high nowadays. By the end of the day, we manage. This is also emphasized by school administrators. Here we have workers helping us in cleaning. We had classrooms that have problems and desks, but we renovated them. We are ready for the school year. Nevertheless, the number of students who set for national exams willing to change their allocated schools continued to increase, as explained by the school administrators. This increase is attributed to the lack of enough funds to support them, as some were sent far from their homes. The funds to support were not enough. After realizing this info, we applied to NESA for changes, but we are still waiting on the answer. Here at our school, we currently have 25 cases of students willing to change the school given to them, and they want to study here. The Director General of the National Examination and School Inspection Authority, NESA, Dr. Bahati Bernard, elaborates on what is considered in accepting the school changes. Mostly, we have diseases, disabilities, and any other reason we could analyze and find it to be understandable. And I would like to add that after appealing, you lose the school you were given and helped in finding the one you want. And if you don't get it, we help you in finding another. Ahead of the 2023-2024 school year, the National Examination and School Inspection Authority, NESA, announced the students' movements to their respective schools starting from Thursday, 21st September 2023. Prince Manzi, RwandaTV News.
Thank you, Prince Manzi, for our report. Now, citizens from all over the country are being given free land for cultivation. They thanked the government for this action and promised that they would use their efforts to make great use of it, so that it provides a solution in terms of food security in the long run. We have more on this report. All over the country, the people have started farming for the Season A 2024. Many are using employees as well, so that they utilize the harvest season to its fullest. The reasons why I'm having help and hiring people on the side is so that I can make use of this season and use it to the fullest, so that when the sun comes out, it finds when the cassava plantations and groundnuts have grown. The hope that we have is that we are in the rainy season, so we will be able to make use of this time so that we increase the food production and get the food prices back to where they used to be. This also goes hand in hand with the provision of land that has long been uncultivated to communities across the country. Those who have received this land are grateful to the government because they are ready to make use of it.
Because in this time, not a lot of people have land in their name, so we would have to talk to people who have land for cultivating. What I am excited for and hopeful about is that after reaping, I won't be buying cassava anymore because I will be able to keep it. It will help me to always have stock of food and some left over to sell in the market because it will be enough.
It is work that those in the agricultural sector are helping them with to cultivate professionally in order to increase the production from agriculture. We are with them 100% and we help them in any way that we can. In the morning, we go with them as we move around all over the areas, encouraging them to cultivate where they haven't done so, and where they haven't managed to, we give the lands to other farmers. Our goal this season is to use all the land that we can be able to cultivate in so that the output is increased, and to encourage farmers to use fertilizers for more production. Even though this land is being offered to residents here and there in the country, there are those who are reluctant to give it away. The mayor of Bugesera, Mutabazi Richard, explains what is being done on this matter.
Ariko duhita tumumenyesha ko ubwo wadashaka kubikora areba undi yifuza akabuhinga.
We immediately tell them that even though they do not want to cultivate on the land, others can be found to do it. There are some who give it to their neighbors, others who sell it to farmers, but there are still others who refuse completely. That is when we come in as the authorities. We remind them that anyone who owns land needs to make use of it, and that the least they can do is rent it out.
The Minister of Agriculture and Animal Resources, Dr. Ildefonse Musafiri, says that no land designated for agriculture should be left uncultivated.
I hope that this season will bring about visible change and a huge increase in the production rate. We are looking at the future and how it looks for the citizens in terms of food security. What we want is for Rwandans to have access to food, and in a sustainable way, whether it is at the end of NST1 next year or in the far future. We want to do all that we can for the citizens because no one can be happy without having proper access to food.
In order to improve this system, a command post has been established in each sector to collect data on the uncultivated land in each cell for production purposes. These are some of the measures taken by the government to increase agricultural production and thus help the country in its development. National Agricultural Export Development Board, NAEB, indicates that prices on international markets and inadequate production are noted as major reasons for the decrease in coffee production, which reached 11% in the second quarter of this year's GDP. Adam Squizera with more.
In 2023, Quarter 2, GDP at current market prices was estimated at 3,970 billion, up from 3,282 billion Rwandan francs in 2022 Quarter 2. Services contributed 45% of GDP, while agriculture contributed 27%. Industry contributed 20% of GDP, while net direct taxes accounted for 7%. However, agriculture sector did not record any growth when compared to Quarter 2, 2022. Within agriculture, export crops increased by 2%, boosted by 14% increase in the reduction of tea, even though coffee production decreased by 11%. Alex Ngununziza, the division manager of traditional commodities at National Agriculture Export Development Board, NAEB, reveals the main reason for this decline of coffee production. I would say that one of the main reasons for this reduction is that sellers prefer exporting when the price on the market are stable and good because, as you know, we export a large proportion of it, so we consider international prices. Other challenges include old steams and insufficient value addition, and these are the major factors of this deduction. On the other side of producers and exporters of coffee, demonstrate some of the challenges that they would face after this apparent decrease of coffee production. We always plan ahead to export a certain amount or process it in our factories. When the production deducts, it affects us from the farmer, industries and the country at large, as coffee generates much income to the state. Currently, 25% of coffee trees are over 30 years, which has been cited as one of the reasons for the decrease of coffee production. To cope up with this issue, the National Agriculture Export Development Board, NAEB, introduced some measures including coffee rejuvenation across the country. The first measurement is raising awareness so that old trees can be rejuvenated with new ones. 25% of trees across the country are 30 years and more, so they are all to be substituted with the new ones that can generate a produce. The statistics of NAEB shows that in the first quarter of this year 2023, the production of coffee was at 53.7% and then decreased to 11% in the second quarter of this year. Adam Squizera, RTV News.
On behalf of the news production team and I, we would like to thank you for sticking with us on RTV News. Once again, my name is Martina Abera. Stay safe and have a great night.